All right, so if you're like me, you know you want to set big goals and you know it take time to get there, but you're not quite sure where to get started. And then once you get started, how are you going to deal with life's surprises and change? And if you're like me, there's lots of systems to manage planning goals and working through your goals. But how do you know which one works? Or maybe you've tried some and they don't seem to solve all of the problems.
We've tried a few. We've taken the best of our favorite systems to create one that works for us. We manage the day to day and the week to week without losing sight of the big picture, all while journaling together. And stick to the end. We'll show you how to know you're making progress, even if it doesn't feel like you are, or you're not seeing immediate results.
Our system has four main components. We start out with the vision. That tells us where we want to go.
It's the
Then
big picture.
it's the big picture. Then we have the quarterly goals. That tells us how to get what the big steps are, but in manageable quarters, not years.
Right.
Then we've got our weekly goals. That tells us how to get there in smaller, more manageable steps. And then finally, to make this all work and keep us on track, we have the weekly review.
And part of the reason this works for us is because Mark is a big picture kind of guy. He always sees the forest. And I am a minutia kind of person, and I'm always looking at the trees. This method bridges the gap for us. So, Mark, why don't you tell us about the vision since you're the big picture guy?
So your vision should be a picture of yourself in 3 to 5 years. Any longer, and you risk having too many things change and not being able to easily accommodate when life maybe throws you curveballs. And this is especially true if you have a family. You should try to aim a little bit higher than you think you might be able to achieve. At least you're striving for something, and if you shoot for the moon, as they say, that's probably a little too far, but shoot towards the moon. And then finally, whatever it is you're putting into your vision plan should be something you're very passionate about, something you believe that you will want. Very, very important to you.
The next step is to define your quarterly goals. They're not exactly quarterly because there are 52 weeks in a year. So we work in 12 plus 1 weeks with 12 weeks for goal actions and 1 week for reviewing the previous 12 weeks and planning the next 12 weeks. You want to make sure that all of your quarterly goals are aligned with your vision, but that each of them is a reasonable stretch for you. Don't set the bar too low, but make sure that you have goals that are actually achievable. You want to write your goals somewhat broad with high level actions, and then take those actions and sort them into an Eisenhower matrix, deciding which actions and goals are important and urgent, which are important but not necessarily urgent, those that are urgent but not necessarily important, and those that are neither important nor urgent, and then question whether you should be doing those at all.
Okay, so now we're talking about weekly planning. Here's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So what we're going to do at the beginning of the week, we're going to have what's called a gap, and the G stands for goal. So we're going to pick a handful of our quarterly goals that we've defined in the prior effort, and we're going to decide which ones we're going to work on that week. If we're working on habits as part of our quarterly goals, those should probably be the things that we work on first. So the first few weeks will be probably largely focused on habits, your most important goals, your urgent goals. If you are working on habits, probably don't bite off more than one or two habits at a time during your week. You have to be realistic here.
And keep in mind that it takes like 3 weeks to establish a habit. So don't schedule too many habits in your quarterly goals that all you're working on are habits. And know that you're not going to establish a habit in just 1 week of weekly planning. It's going to take a few weeks.
So once you've got your goals defined for the week, you take the actions that you defined and then sort it into your matrix from, again, the prior effort. And you basically need to then plan those and protect the time for those on an actual planning schedule. So once they sort of hit the schedule and they land it on a particular time, a date and time, they become very real, and now they become something that you need to hit. It's something tangible, and it's not no longer just a long list of to-dos that you continue to shuffle and defer and shuffle and defer.
Yeah, you're making a commitment to yourself when you put it in your planner.
Yep.
So to me, the magic of the system happens in the last part, and that is the weekly review. We call this WRAAP. um, when you are doing your weekly review, you want to celebrate your wins or your successes. And we actually write them out every week. We write out our wins. These are not necessarily tied to your goals, they are successes from the week. Even if they were unplanned, unanticipated, celebrate them. Then you want to report your results. When you report your results, do it without emotion. You are not being judgmental. You are simply looking at the goal and writing down, did I do the actions? Did I not do the actions? You don't even have to make excuses why or why not.
As Matt Ragland would say, you're simply acting as a reporter.
Indeed.
You're simply reporting a news story.
Indeed. Now, here's how you know you're making progress. Rate your accountability. Look at the actions that you told yourself you were going to make at the beginning of the week. Decide, how effective were you in completing those actions? We actually go through and count the number of actions that we did versus the number of actions we had planned to do and give ourselves a percentage. If your accountability rating is 85% or better, chances are you're going to be able to achieve your goals.
Now, the accountability can be expanded to include not just the actions that you took, but if you had other, say, habits. If you were tracking your habits, you could say how many days of the week did you keep your habits. If there are other systems where you're monitoring, and ideally you'll be monitoring as many things as you can, because if you're not measuring, it's probably not as important to you as you think. So certainly in business, that's a mantra. And you could again kind of combine some of these things, and at the end you're again seeing concrete results that you can use to guide you and tell you, are you actually accomplishing what you're setting out to accomplish or not? And if you're not, then you need to adjust.
Right. So this is where we get to our second A. You're going to check your alignment. You're going to look at your goals and your vision. And one thing you're going to ask yourself is, do I still feel passionate about this? If you don't, why not? Do you need to make an adjustment? Do you need to realign yourself? Then you're going to look at the P, the last P for pivot. Well, if you're not aligned, will it just take a little pivot for you to be able to become realigned? Or if you are aligned, could you be doing something better? Could you be more successful if you made a little adjustment, a little pivot? We often find that in weeks that went well, we don't have any trouble with alignment or pivot. But in weeks that didn't go well, it's because we weren't really well aligned with our vision, or our actions weren't really matching our goals very well. And we absolutely do need to pivot for the upcoming week.
I think the last three, accountability, the alignment, and the pivoting, are where you make the course corrections. It's where you're able to say, okay, something happened. Either I didn't plan well enough, I didn't execute well enough, or something happened I didn't expect. And now I have to take that into account in maybe a goal for next week, a quarterly goal, Or if it's a big enough change, maybe even my vision board needs an update. So hopefully that vision, will stick with you and not change much. And same for the quarterly goals. But week over week, if there's a lot of change, that's okay. That's sort of expected, and that's why there are this WRAAP process is here. It's to allow you to course correct.
Life throws you curveballs.
Yeah.
This is where you account for those.
Oh, and it's a gut check too. Am I doing the things I really want to be doing?
Right.
And if not, why?
Right. Is it worth continuing to pursue this vision to me? Or was I really not committed to this? All right, so that pretty much describes our whole process. In the coming weeks, we've got more plans for you. Look for us to put out another video on how we manage this in our planners, some live planning with us, what types of journaling systems we use to stay on top of our process, how we establish habits, how we set goals as a family, and before the end of the year, we'll go through a 12-week planning.
Well, that's all for now. And as usual, this is Mark.
And I'm Jen.
And as always, we are still journaling together.